All right, thank you so much for joining us for the Vermont Applies Presents Resume Building, an introduction to resume writing with Renee White. I'm very excited to have her joining us here to deliver this presentation. Renee White is very passionate about helping individuals explore their, excuse me, sorry, my tickle in my throat. Exploring their, oh my gosh, interest in developing their skills. With more than 30 years of experience in career counseling and higher education, Renee is highly skilled at assisting students and adults in career exploration, development, transition, and the job search process. She currently serves as the Director of Career Services at Castleton University, which is also her alma mater. But in addition to that, she does spend some of her spare time as a part-time career coach at Proctor Junior Senior High School. A couple of notes before we move right into the content of the presentation here is that the presentation will be recorded and available for later viewing. I will send a copy of that to everybody who's registered and live on the video presentation today. We invite you to ask any questions that you have throughout the presentation through the chat feature. I will be monitoring that and will happily surface those to Renee as they bubble up as time permits. And then at the end, we will have an opportunity for some open opportunities for questions. I will have all participants muted until that point of the presentation. So please feel free to send them any questions again through the chat. You can send them directly to Chris, that's myself, or to everyone. Actually, and I guess before I forget, my name is Chris Berry. I'm the VTAC Resource Center Supervisor, helping to kind of put on and promote this event. So without any further ado, I will turn it over to Renee.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chris, and welcome everybody. I'm thrilled to be with you today, this afternoon. I'm working from home, so this is my home today in Poultney. So today we're going to talk about resumes and again, leaving some good time for questions. So definitely feel free to ask as many questions as you need to. All right, we'll just get started. Chris, if you want to go to that. So what is a resume? So a resume is a marketing tool that summarizes your skills, your experiences, your education, and other factors that make you qualified for a job, a position, or an opportunity. So that's what a resume is. So that's a definition. And next, so why do you need a resume? Most always when we apply for jobs, you're going to be requested to submit a resume. So, and it's usually the employer's first interaction meeting of you, whether it be on paper or online, however you're submitting it. So it's your first point of contact. And with that, it's incredibly important that you leave a really good first impression. I can't stress enough, and I might say this numerous times today, that employers are making decisions about us in seconds, good and bad. And our goal is always to make a good impression on our resume, to make a good impression. Again, a good impression will make all the difference. So just really keep in mind that it's just, again, you don't have a lot of time to do that. So that's why it's critical that it looks good. Okay, next. So an effective resume is clear, organized, direct, and professional. Again, it's a professional document. It has accurate information. Make sure that whatever is on your resume is truthful, and highlights what you're currently doing or what you've done in the past. You never include something on your resume that you have not yet done. So it's only what you're currently doing or have done. Again, you need to look good, both on paper and online. You want to focus on your accomplishments, your achievements by using strong action verbs when you're describing your experiences. You want to make sure it's easy to read. Less is more on a resume and a cover letter. The KISS rule is always something that you want to remember. Keep it simply stated. Again, seconds. So what are those keywords that you want to include on your resume? Again, no fluff. Keep it really relevant and to the point. Gets you an interview. The goal of a resume is to get an interview. Right. When you apply for a job, you submit a resume and a cover letter. The goal is to get an interview. So when you start applying for jobs, or if you are applying for jobs, if you're not getting an interview, that means it's not working harder. You're not impressing them enough. So that's not when you stop submitting resumes and don't apply. It's when you reach out to somebody and get some really good feedback. So again, the goal is to get an interview. Next. So other uses of a resume: scholarship applications, college applications, awards applications, part of your portfolio. So those are other purposes of a resume. Okay. So you always want to tailor your resume to whatever you're applying for. So if you're applying for a similar position, your resume will probably say the same. But if you're not, you want to make sure that you highlight and tailor your resume to your best ability to the specific position that you're applying for. Very, very important that you do that. So really when you're reading job descriptions and looking at the qualifications they're seeking, you want to make sure that you hone in on the most important things, again, experience, skills that you have that are directly related to that position. So you always want to tailor it. Resumes are not usually, like I said, so it depends. If you're applying for similar positions, they might stay the same, but if you're not, then you need to shift it so that it is applicable to that specific position. Okay, next. So they say you have 30 seconds or less today. Again, going back to that, you don't have a lot of time to get in that yes, we want to interview you pile. So again, your goal when you submit a resume and write a cover letter and whatever else they're asking for, your goal is to get in the yes pile or the maybe pile, but not the no. So again, you want to make a really good first impression. I always encourage my students and the clients that I counsel, when you write a resume, give it to somebody and give them, and I use between 15 and 20 seconds, and ask them for feedback. Just say, what did you remember? What stood out? And again, you're hoping that they're gonna say things that are really relevant to the job, or specific skills you have, experiences that make you stand out, maybe some awards, whatever. But things that impress them. Again, the goal is to impress them, to get interviewed, to get in that yes, we want to interview you. So also, just keep in mind too, that just because you might have the skills and requirements the job is asking, you still, you might not, it might not still impress them enough. So, but hopefully it will. Again, you never know too, when we're applying for jobs, you never know how many candidates are also applying for that one job. It could be 5, it could be 50, it could be 300, depending on the job. So, again, but your job is to convince them in whatever ways you can that you're a great candidate for that job. So, in really short time, in a really short amount of time. Okay, next. So different resume formats, there's different formats. Chronological is the most common. That's where you're going to list your work history, always with your most recent information positions first. A functional resume emphasizes skills and strengths. That's usually best for those with limited education or experience. And then a combination is focusing on both skills and work experience in a chronological order. So again, chronological is the most common resume used. Next. So again, there's no one size fits all resume. Always target the resume. Make sure you include language, verbiage in the job posting and the description. Don't use everything, but definitely include some verbiage that is part of that job, that position. And again, try, no one size fits all. Resumes are so individual to us, right? Because only we've done what we've done. So when you are writing your resume, and especially when you're looking at other people's resumes, I've had so many students say to me, oh my gosh, I really haven't done much, or I don't have enough as much as, X or Y, and, try not to look at try not to really, what I want to say is focus on you and what you've done and what you're currently doing and what you can continue to do. Resumes are works in progress. You're going to we're always building, updating our resumes, right? Because we're always learning new things, gaining new skills, getting new jobs, different experiences. So try not to compare yourself to others when you are looking at other resumes. Again, it's only what you've done. So just focus on you and all your good work when you're looking at writing and looking at your resume. It's also, though, very good to do, again, make yourself accountable. We're accountable, right? Hold yourself accountable. And again, if you're not getting a specific position that you've been applying for, ask yourself, well, maybe, wait, what don't I have? Or maybe what don't I have enough of at this point that's not, that I probably do need to get that job. And do it, gain more skills, even, volunteer, in certain organizations or agencies or whatever it takes. Just keep at it, because it will happen. It will happen. Okay. So I want to focus on these, the key attributes that employers want. And these are attributes that employers want in all of us. It's not just, teachers or scientists or whatever, these are, virtually employers want to see these whenever possible. And again, we might not have them, and that's okay. I mean, but whatever you do have, it's important that you highlight that on your resume. So what are they? Problem solving skills, ability to work within a team, strong work ethic, communication skills, both writing and verbal, leadership skills, analytical, quantitative skills, technical skills, flexibility, adaptability, interpersonal skills, ability to get along with others, and digital technology. So these are attributes, qualities that employers really want to see on resumes and in cover letters. And of course, when you're interviewing, these are things that you're going to be talking about too. So it's important. So make sure that you make note and include any of these in whatever ways you can. Okay. So again, these are all really, really important. And problem solving, by the way, right now is the #1 skill that employers want. It used to be communication, but problem solving is the #1 right now. And adaptability is really high right now too. And I think we're all pretty much experts in adaptability given our life since March, right? We've all had to adapt a lot. And it hasn't been easy for some people. It's easy, some people it's been easier than others, me included. Working from home has not been my cup of tea my first go around, but much easier this time. I'm adapting better. So it's important that you know what these are. And like I said, communication used to be #1. It's still high up there. But so again, communication too, I just want to stress. So when you apply for a job, we apply for jobs today, your resume and cover letter is usually your first communique to a potential employer. And it's make or break. Those first seconds, they're either going to like it, what it looks like, what it says, or they're not. Same thing as, when they call you to interview you or email to interview you, how you're communicating back is really important. And again, you can't not do it well. You can't, because they won't, again, they're not going to look any further. So be really mindful of how you're communicating. And on that note too, just on communication, I have to say this, but I want to make sure that, you're all aware when we apply for jobs, if they are looking to interview us, before they contact us, they're usually almost always going to look online and they're going to see, Google your name and what's popping up. What else, who are you, online? What's your online presence? So again, whatever's out there for the world to see. So just be mindful of that. They are looking, and that is how you're communicating. That's another way that we're communicating. So, okay, next. So what do we include on a resume? So we're just going to go through, what you're going to definitely have on a resume. And again, it's really dependent on what you've done and what you're currently doing. But you definitely want to have your name and your contact information. That's an absolute. You definitely let them, again, your formal, your full formal name with your middle initial and your contact information. And your contact information should be an email and an email and a cell number, and you can include your physical address. You don't have to do that, but you can include your physical address. The reason why you don't have to include a physical address today is because, again, seconds. Okay, so let's just say they're looking at your resume and they see, you're from Winooski, Vermont. You're applying for a job in Austin, Texas. Are you real? They might think, they might ask themselves, are they really interested in this job, or they just apply, so you don't want to ever give somebody the indication that they might not be that interested in that first communique. So again, that's a reason where you might not want to put a physical address, but you certainly can. Objective is optional. Your objective is letting the employer know exactly what, the name of the position you're applying for. So again, if you are applying for a specific position, state that. If you're not, if you're just getting your resume ready, but you don't have any positions right now in mind, you don't have to include an objective. Summary of qualifications is another optional category that can start a resume, depending on, if you want to highlight any of your proficiencies, experiences that you have. So your education is definitely a section you're going to want to include, and that's where you're going to include your college, high school. So rule of thumb for your education. So you only include if you've received a degree. So if you're in college right now, you would include the name of the college. Let's say you were transferred, but you didn't obtain a degree. You don't include that. You only include what you're currently in presently, or what. So again, if you transfer, but only, or maybe you had school 1 or 2 semesters, but didn't get a degree, you don't put that. For high school, so you can put your high school. But for college students, with the college students, that I'm mostly work with, when you're in college, everything from high school goes off your resume by the time you're by the end of your sophomore year. So you have a little bit of time while in college to keep your high school, but again, you just really want to focus on the most relevant, the most recent experiences that you have. So your education, and then your work experience. So you definitely want to highlight any of your work experience that you have currently, or working, or what you've done in the past. Please don't ever not put a position. I've had so many students tell me, oh, Renee, well, I've worked in fast food, or I've worked in McDonald's, but I don't want to put that on my resume. And no, you put that on your resume, right? I mean, because first of all, it's a job, you've done it. I mean, hopefully you were there more than a week. I mean, you had, you were there a little bit, again, if you were at a job for a really small amount of time, I wouldn't put it on your resume, because it might be an indicator, well, they're going to quit in 3 weeks. So, and again, you have to be ready to talk about every single thing that you've listed on your resume. So, yeah. So, but again, don't undermine any positions you've had. Whether it's fast food, or maybe or maybe it's a position that you just feel isn't worthy or whatever. Please don't do that, and definitely include it, because every job requires skills and abilities. And honestly, I love seeing on a resume that somebody's that worked in fast food, when I'm working with students, because that tells me, right, so much. You can work with, in a fast-paced environment with sometimes not happy, friendly people, who you messed up their order and they're not happy and you've got to redo it. And again, you're part of a team. It's not a pleasant environment usually sometimes, but again, but you were able to do that. And that says something about you, right? Everything that we do says something about us. So make sure that please don't underestimate any positions that you've had. So all your work experiences, and again, your resume is chronological. So you're always going to list your most recent experience first, starting with the title, the name of the company, the organization, the city, the state, and then a description of what you did, what was your main responsibilities. Other sections, you're going to include volunteer experience. Very important. If you volunteered anywhere, be sure and put that. It's really important. And I know, again, some students have said to me, I don't really think it's that important, but it is. Again, it depends on, and again, your resume, I want you to think of your resume as, your 1 page of real estate, and it's really 1 page. Again, get to the main things, leave everything else off, or include in your cover letter if needed, if it's important. So just, it depends if I don't know how, but definitely if you have room, include some of your volunteer experiences. Definitely skills, any of your proficiencies, you want to make sure you list on your resume. So anything that you're skilled in or have or proficient, you want to make sure. So, again, extensive customer service experience, maybe you're fluent in French, or maybe, you're skilled in sign language, whatever it is, you want to make sure you list any of your special skills, and especially if they're related to that job that you're applying for. Okay. And again, if they are, then you're going to want to list those to the top. So again, you're going to, again, tailor it the best you can. Definitely any awards that you've been a recipient of, make sure you include those. Again, that's something that makes you stand out right away. If you have a really high GPA, if you've been like student of the semester, maybe you were awarded staff of the month at your employment where you're employed. Maybe you've been recognized as a volunteer, whatever, but those all make you stand out in very good ways. So make sure you list any of your awards. Certifications, if you have any certifications, any special trainings, you want to make sure you list that on your resume, as long as they're current. Again, your resume is only what is current. They're still, they haven't expired, what you've currently doing or have done. Any other activities that you're involved in. I know, if any club involvement, any other experiences that you have, extracurricular experiences you want to highlight. And if you had any specific roles, make sure you note that. So maybe if you were treasurer of the debate club or whatever, you want to make sure you give a title if you had a specific title and weren't just a member of. Athletic experience, again, if you have any athletic experience you want to highlight. And then interest is another, a category. It's optional, but you certainly can include it. Again, how looking at that, thinking about that one page that you have, your one page that you really, what are you going to have? What are you going to include that is going to be the best for that specific job? Is really how you have to think of every job you apply for.
Renee, real quick, before we move on to the next slide, I do have a question that popped up through the chat.
Sure.
Before I actually get to the question, though, I do want to emphasize, I'm so glad you touched on the fast food jobs component. In my experience, so many people don't realize what they've learned about themselves when they come out the other end of a fast food job. But the question that actually surfaced is more around temp jobs. Where maybe you're employed by a temp agency and many of the assignments you're having are very short-term jobs. Can you share any insight or suggestions about how maybe one would track those on a resume?
Oh, sure. That's a great question. So, I mean, just saying it's a temp agency is letting them know that, though, too. You know what I mean? So if they, so if they've worked as part of a temp agency, I would just put the name of the title and what they did for each position. Yeah. And they could even say, this was part of a 3-week assignment or 3-week position, so that they know so that the reader knows that.
Okay, and it looks like a follow-up question to that. And if there are others here, we may hold on to them till the end. But on that same note, how long should something maybe live on your resume before it's ready to remove it? I know you referenced high school, but in general, maybe.
So, you don't want to go too far back, but I wouldn't go farther back than 5 years. But it really depends on what you've done. But let's just say the position, like maybe it was 7 years ago and it's related, I would include it. But you really don't want to go too far back. You want to keep it as most relevant, most recent information.
Thank you for that. No other questions popping up right now. Are you ready for the next slide?
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
Okay.
So this is your name and contact information. I did touch about, but again, your full formal name, if you're Suzanne Jones, don't put Sue Jones, your full name. And your name should stand out on your resume. Your name should be really, a bigger font and in bold. And then again, your phone number, again, make sure that your voicemail, going back to communication, is professional. If they call you, make sure whatever they're hearing on the other end is something that is professional and not like crazy loud music in the background or something that's going to be like, oh, do they really like this music? And then again, your email address, make sure it's something that's professional. And if it's not right now, just change it. Make sure you change it to a, again, your name, Gmail. Okay, great. Next, and we'll just show you next. So here's just a sample heading. Again, what will be at the top of your resume, your full name, your address, your phone, and your email. So you want that information, right away on the top. Okay. And then your objective, like I said, this is optional, but let's just say you're applying for a specific position that you saw advertised, so this is just a sample of what it would say: to obtain a camp counselor position at Basin Harbor Club Resort. That would be a sample example of a job objective. And again, again, you would use that, like I said, when you are applying for a company with a specific position, because Basin Harbor might have 50 different openings, job openings presently. So you want them to know right away what position it is you're applying for. Okay, next. And then your education. It's always good to list your GPA if it's good, if it's above a 3.3, and again, include any achievements. So here's just an example of what your education would look like. Winooski High School, Winooski, Vermont, graduating in June 2021, honor roll, National Honor Society. So again, and I personally like to see any honors that you've made, academic honors, right underneath your education. Again, don't make those stand. I go, those are making you stand out. So don't tuck those at the bottom of your resume. I don't feel you should, because again, you want those to be right away. So again, going back to your one page, your one piece, your piece of real estate, just keep in mind too, the top third of your resume is the most important space. That's where our eyes directly go, right? They're not going to go to the bottom. When we read a resume, we're not looking at the bottom, right? We're going, where are our eyes going? They're going right to that, right? The top third is really the space they're looking at. So again, you want to make sure that you have really, your content, whatever you're putting in that 1/3, is really good, really relevant. Okay, next. And here, now your work experience will be next. And again, you're going to list jobs, employers where you've worked. Include, and also include any informal jobs based on what, you've done. And if you have completed any internships or done any job shadows, definitely include those as well. Again, that says something about you if you've done a job shadow, or if you have been an intern anywhere. Definitely, that's very important information. And we'll just look at a sample next. So this is what just some examples under your work experience section, what it would look like. So again, starting with your title, where you worked, the name of the organization, the city, the state, and when you were there. And so again, last summer, and then a few bullets. So a few. So you shouldn't have more, they say, than 5 bullets for every position. They say you stop, I don't know, they say, some research say you stop reading after 5 bullets. So again, you want to have no more than 5 bullets, highlighting your main responsibilities for each position, starting with a strong action word. So you want the reader to have a really good understanding, visual, if you will, after they read each job description, what you've done. So as a camp counselor, created and led daily activities for youth ages 6 through 12, promoted teamwork within a healthy and safe environment, adhered to program standards and COVID policies. So again, what, you want them, you're focusing on your main duties, responsibilities for each job is really what you want to do. Again, in using those action words: create, promote, as a pet sitter, care for, provide, job shadow, observed, treatment, so again, whatever it is you did. So be really mindful and very diligent in the words that you choose when you're describing. Okay. If again, and the thing with resumes too, you have to showcase yourself. And sometimes people have a harder time than others doing that, but you really have to, you have to sell yourself. Yeah, so don't be shy, is what I'm saying. Okay, next. Again, using strong action verbs, here are just some samples, but just to get you thinking about, okay, what are those great words? And you can Google them, you can find tons of these. But again, achieved, delivered, enhanced, launched, drafted, edited, served, wrote, created, developed, planned, solved, revised, adapted, cared for, ensured, guided, helped, provided, resolved, hosted, modeled, controlled, selected, exceeded, joined, enforced, won, demonstrated, honored. So, you know, again, just to get you thinking about what are those strong action words that I can include on my resume, or that I need to.
A question actually, the question just came up that actually might refer back one slide. So I'm just going to come here for a moment. Say somebody doesn't have maybe strong, quote, work experience. Maybe more of their experience has been these informal jobs. If I'm understanding the question correctly, could their resume include maybe more of these informal jobs?
Yes.
And would it still really be considered a resume?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, thank
So
you.
just, you know, just to give you an idea, so I have two of my sons started a lawn care business when they were in high school. So they just, you know, they mow some lawns in the area and on the, you know, for some folks on the lake. And that's on their resume. And actually one of my sons just asked me, because he's in college, he's a sophomore in college, he goes, should I take it off? I'm like, no, don't, no. So, and again, they started that business too. So again, that's showing that, you know, initiative and, but again, all the other skills, right, that go along with that job, right? Taking care of lawns, lawn care and maintenance and, you know, using machines, you know, mowers and all that, you know, so yeah, no, definitely included.
Thank you so much. It looks like they're happy with that.
Good. And then military service, if you do have any, definitely put that down on your resume. And what it would look like would be, well, just look at the next slide, just you'd have your, you know, the name and when and where and when. Again, if you completed it, you know, again, only if you've completed things or are in process of completing, would you, but if you started it, didn't finish it, dropped out, you don't include it on your resume. I want to make sure you understand that. It's only things what you're doing currently or have done in the past and finished. Okay. So skills, again, make sure that you highlight any of your specials. I like to call them your skills, your specials. Like what are you good at? What do you have? What are you skilled in? Or what are you really strong in? What are you known for, if you will? Make sure you highlight those. Okay, so here are just some samples. Microsoft Excel and Word, fluent in Spanish, skilled in teamwork and time management, excellent communication skills, written and oral. So whatever your skills are, whatever you have strength skills in, make sure you list those. And especially, like I said, especially if they're related to the job. I mean, if like, let's just say you're applying for a job and teamwork is really important and you have a lot of teamwork, you have extensive teamwork experience and you're skilled in that and you're good at it. You've been doing it and you've done it. So make sure you say that. Okay. Any certifications and trainings you have done or are doing currently, make sure you list. Like I said, as long as they're updated, they're current, you want to list them. So, you know, first aid, CPR certification, maybe you completed a safe sitter essentials training course, or pet sitting course, whatever, any of your special trainings. Maybe if you've had COVID training or, you know, things like that, you would want to list. Here's just a quick sample of a resume, what it would look like when it's done. Just to give you a visual of just what does it look like when it's all done. So that's just like a quick snapshot of a resume. One sample, you know, again, the thing with resumes too is, I just want to stress this, there's no right way to write a resume. So there's no right way to write a resume. So, you know, there's so many different templates, formats out there, you know, you have to really, but you need to use one that works for you. And again, that gets you an interview. Like you need, so, but I would just want you to err on being more conservative with your resume than not. So, I mean, I've seen some resumes where it's different colors and fonts are all different fonts, and it's really, you know, it doesn't make, well, for me, it didn't make a really good impression. So you really want to make sure it looks professional and it's not too busy and they get right to the point. So some majors, depending, art majors, our fine art majors can be a little more creative, our marketing, some majors can be more creative, but I always err on the side of being being definitely more conservative as far as your resume, because again, you want them to hone in on how good you look on paper, and you don't want them to be distracted by colors or zany fonts or anything like that. Okay. So on that note too, for your font, again, make sure whatever you choose, Times, Calibri, Garamond, whatever you choose, just make sure it looks good and it's easy to read. Okay. So do's, so resume, just some quick do's. So keep it to 1 page. There are a few exceptions to this, not many at this point, again, keep it simply stated, get the most important information to them, give them and only that. Use can be consistent in your formatting. Use bullets, not paragraphs. Again, keep it, to the point, get right to the point. Easy to read font, avoid underlining, and all caps and boldface text make an impact and make words stand out. And you want to do that, but just make sure you're consistent in whatever you're doing. But I definitely, you're having your name bold, having the sections in bold. I like to see titles, in bold and sometimes italics, depending, again, you want your titles to stand out to whatever you've done. Okay.
Going actually back to your reference to 1 page, is that 1 page front and back or just one single-sided piece of paper?
1 page.
Thank you.
Yeah, again, there are some exceptions to that, but it really it depends, and there's not many right now. Again, employers really want 1-page resumes. And so let's just say though that you're writing a resume and you're like, oh my gosh, but I really want to know this, but it can't fit on my resume. What am I going to do? So you can include it in your cover letter. So instead of not saying anything and not letting them know, you could also in your cover letter in that 2nd or 3rd paragraph inject, in addition to what's on my resume, I also worked or was part of whatever you want them to know. Again, but you really have to ask yourself for everything you list on your resume, especially if you have a lot of information, you're not sure what to put, what to include. Ask yourself, put yourself in their seat. Is this important that they know this about me? And if it is, then definitely include it either in your resume or in your cover letter, or if you're like, gosh, you know what, they probably don't need to know that I did this. It's really not relevant to this job, to the skills and the position itself, the company, organization. Just leave it out. I hope that helps. Confirming. And I just want to mention too, LinkedIn here. And I don't know, but if you have LinkedIn accounts, that's where everything goes. So if any of you are wondering, gosh, if you're struggling with that 1 page, you put everything in your LinkedIn. So if they're considering you, they're going to look at your LinkedIn and they're going to see, oh gosh, they were also part of this or did this. So if you're wondering.
Thank you.
Which, by the way, LinkedIn, you definitely want to be in LinkedIn at some point if you're not already. Again, employers want to see us in there, and you want to be in there because it's a great place to be found and it's a great place for you to find jobs. And I just have to stress that employers today are relying the most on LinkedIn to find their talent. So you need to be in there, right, to be found, and you have to look good, just like your resume. And once your resume is done, it's very easy to create your LinkedIn. So good. Next. So resumes that don't get interviews, spelling errors, typos, poor grammar, absolutely, you will not, I can almost guarantee you will not get an interview. If you apply for a job and you have typos, misspelled their names, whatever. I mean, if it looks bad, if it's too wordy, if it doesn't look good, if you have an unprofessional email address, and believe it or not, and I have to say this, a lot of, not a lot, but I mean, too many, one is too many, have unprofessional email addresses, and it's not a good, it's not a good impression. If you're unqualified, if you just don't have enough of what they want, you won't get an interview. I want to just talk about that for a minute. So when you're looking at job descriptions and applying for jobs, as long as you have the majority of skills and experience, education that they want, apply. If you don't have it all, but you have the majority, apply. But pay really good, close attention to the qualifications. So if they say bachelor's degree required, and you don't have a bachelor's degree, don't apply. If they say associate or bachelor's degree recommended, and you don't have it, apply. So pay attention and read really closely what they've listed. Employers spend a lot of time, sometimes a lot more than you realize, when they're writing job descriptions. Your job as a potential employee of that organization is to follow directions and to make sure, right, that, again, if you're not qualified, don't apply. Don't waste your time. Don't waste their time. But again, if you have the majority what they're asking for, absolutely apply. Very seldom does a candidate have the A to Z that they're asking for. Very seldom. Because those job descriptions can be blah, 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 blah. But again, as long as you have the majority, absolutely apply. I hope you understand this and that you do. Again, we usually don't have everything, but as long as you have at least, again, most of the things that they want, or have some proficiency, some knowledge, some experience. And again, you don't have to have, a ton, but if you have some, that says something and it's good. So again, going back to kind of like, your fast food jobs, don't ever underestimate or undermine anything that you have some experience in. And I've worked with students for so many years, and I've seen it, and I just don't want you to, if any of you are out there right now, we're just thinking, oh, I don't really have that. No, list it and apply. But again, make sure you read, because if you don't follow directions, that's not a good, and always, if there's one thing I want you to absolutely promise me you'll do today, or after that you'll remember from this, is always have somebody other than yourself review your materials before you send your resume. I can't tell you, first of all, what I find in my work is students get really, they see a job, they get really excited, they want to apply, which is great, but they just get, they want to apply like, yesterday. But it takes time. Writing a resume, it takes time, and you want results, right? You want to get an interview and you want the job. So you really have to take your time, and you have to have somebody other than yourself that you trust look at it before you send it. You have to, because you can't afford it. You can't afford to make a mistake on a resume and think that they're going to take you seriously and want to hire you. You really can't today. I mean, so just really take your time. But the good news is once you write a resume, you're just gonna craft it, and you're gonna edit it and tailor it to different positions. So, but they do take time. They're not something that you're gonna just sit down and write in 10, 15 minutes. And they shouldn't be, right? They shouldn't be. Your resume is a compilation of you, and you want to make sure that you take your time and give it as much, attention as possible before you submit it. Okay. Again, they evolve. They're works in progress, right? We're always doing new things, getting new jobs, learning new things, skills, volunteering at different organizations, whatever, getting new trainings. Good resumes get interviews, period. They do. So be that good resume. And just keep in mind that your resume doesn't get you the job. Your interview is going to get you the job, not your resume. And that's our next presentation. So your resume is to get you the interview. So, and again, what you're putting into your career management is what you're going to get out of it. I'm so thrilled that, we have over 20 of you, I believe, that are joining us. And you participating today is telling me that you're paying attention to this, and it's so important. I mean, I applaud you all. It's important. I'm a firm believer that whatever we put our energy into, we get some, something's going to happen, right? We don't just keep doing things and nothing happens, right? But if you keep focusing on this, things are going to happen because you're focusing on it. It's part of what you're tending to. And but on that note too, I just don't be discouraged when you're not getting especially if you're not getting jobs, just you have to keep at it. Finding a job is a job in itself, and it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of hustle. Sometimes it's luck too, but you have to work it. It's not just going to land in your lap unless you're really lucky. And sometimes, luck happens to people, but you really have to work. Okay, next. So I just want to touch upon references. So references are not on your resume. Some people will put at the bottom of their resume, at the very bottom line, will say references available upon request. And that basically is telling the reader there's no more information. I'm done. But you never include references, names of people on your resume. It's a separate document. So you're going to list those on a separate page. So you want to think about, who are you going to use for references? They're going to be former or current supervisors. They're going to be faculty, teachers. They're going to be, people that you have relationships with who know you well, who know your character, who know your strengths, your work ethic, your abilities. So you want to be really selective when you're choosing who to ask. Always ask before you list anybody as part of your reference sheet. Always ask and receive permission. Your references are a really important piece of this. They will be contacted. They will be speaking and or writing on your behalf. So make sure you're really selective. So again, you want people that know you the best. I've had so many students say to me, well, I'm going to ask the president of the college, and I'm like, well, that's fine. As long as you have a relationship and they know who you are. I think sometimes people just go for those titles or, and again, if you certainly know the president, have a relationship with the president, ask the president, but you really want the people that know you the best. So even if it's somebody that maybe you volunteered with an organization, but they know you really well, ask them, because you want the people that are going to be able to speak and write the best, or on your behalf the best and the most, give the most information. So again, they're a really important piece of this process. So be really selective. You want to have, employers are going to ask for 2 to 3 references usually when they ask, when you apply for jobs. So if maybe you have a list of 5 or 8 or 10 even, I don't know how many people, but what you're going to want to do is ask the people who are most relevant to that position. So your references might change in regard to the position you're applying for. Okay, and I'll just show you a sample of this next. So a sample reference sheet would look like this. So you list your name at the top, just like on your resume, with references underneath. And then you're going to list the name of the person, their title, the organization, their contact information, their phone, their email, and then in parentheses, who they are to you. So supervisor, faculty, professor, teacher, whoever, former coach, current supervisor, whoever they are. So that way they know when they are contacting them who they are, your relationship with that person. Okay. What time? Let's see. How are we doing? Oh boy. All right. I hope do we need more questions? Do we need some questions?
Yeah. So actually, thank you so much for all of that wonderful content. It was wonderful, and we do actually have a couple of questions trickling in. So let's see. First one here is, how long should you have a teacher, internship coordinator, or a professor as a reference if they only really were part of your, they really got to know you well after one class, but didn't really get to know you better than that?
That's a great question. Who asked that question?
It looks like it's a participant that we have. I'm not familiar, but if you're comfortable unmuting yourself.
Oh no, she just, they don't, that's a great question. So my answer is you can keep that person, that reference, as long as you keep a relationship with that person. So I'm just going to give you an example of that. So I work at Castleton University. I worked at another college for 25 years before I went back to Castleton, my alma mater, where I graduated at Castleton. So when I applied for my job at Castleton 8 years ago, one of the references that I used was from when I graduated Castleton. I'm over like 33 years ago now. Why did I use her? Because I've kept a relationship with her. So if you keep a relationship with a person, if they've been a reference once for you, they're going to be a reference again for you if you keep in touch with them. And I don't mean you have to call them every week or email them every week or text them every week, but once or twice a year, check in with them. Let them know what you're doing. Oh, now doing this work. I changed jobs. Now I'm doing this, and just keep them updated, because they'll do it again if you've kept them up to date with where you're at.
And kind of building off of that, Renee, is it safe to assume that if you maybe had a relationship with them, that they wouldn't either accurately represent you to a prospective employer or hiring manager, that you shouldn't use them anymore?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Chris? I'm sorry. What?
Yeah, of course. And if and assuming that individual, maybe they weren't going to represent you correctly or properly to an employer or hiring manager, is it safe to assume not to include them anymore?
All right, let's back up. If you have any reservation at all about a person being a reference for you, don't ask them. I hope that helps. I hope that.
Perfect.
Because you want to choose the people that, again, are going to represent you really well. So let's just say you had a boss that was not a good boss. Don't list him. Don't list them. Because again, you want to list people that can speak the best about you. And I'm totally aware of it. Sometimes we have we have supervisors that are not good, so again, just don't list them, or ask other people, reach out to other people. Again, no family or friends, they really have to be a professional relationship, but you really can't, no. Sometimes, sometimes people will go off list references. They'll reach out to, they'll call an organization. They'll say, hey, I know that, John Doe's applying for a job. So sometimes they do that. So, again, just try to keep a good track record too. So if you do leave a job, or if you have left it, try to, and I know sometimes it's hard, and I know sometimes there are situations, but you want to try to always, leave on a good note, and not leave a track record of, quitting after 1 week or 2 weeks, or speaking bad about coworker. You know what I mean? You just really, yeah.
Awesome. Okay. And last question, I think, just for the sake of time. You talked earlier about a job application, and then you referenced a college application. Do you have not only any tips or bits of knowledge for what to consider when setting up a resume for college, but do the two differ? Does a job application and a college application, as far as resume components, differ at all?
No, but I guess, no, definitely I would, but, for college, I would definitely, include, what you've been involved in though, too, your any involvements you've had, I would definitely include. But we included that, on the other one too. Any of your extracurriculars, I would definitely include. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we are just about to 3 o'clock.
Was there one more question, Chris? I thought might have popped up.
Yeah, we have a handful more. We might actually have more than we have time for.
Okay. If you,
oh, go ahead.
Yeah. All right. I'm happy to, if you want to forward them to me, I could,
Well, let's see what we've got. We'll finish up the last 2 minutes. Let's see what we can get to.
That sounds great.
What if the person that you wanted to use as a reference has been out of college or after graduation, or they're unemployed? Is there any reason other than maybe not representing you correctly that you would want to stop using a reference, I think is what they're asking.
No.
Okay.
No.
How should you, if at all, explain unemployment or lapses in employment in a resume or cover letter?
Oh, great question. You definitely need to explain it. And I would just insert it in the cover letter. You know, you might want to say something that you will note for the, you know, there's a gap from, you know, a 12 or, you know, whatever, a 6 or 12-month gap on my resume in regard to my employment. At this time, and again, you don't have to get don't get real personal in any of these, but you know, you might just want to say I had a family situation where I was unable to, keep my employment or you know, remain employed with due to a family situation. You don't have to say, and don't say what that was. It's none of their business. But say it. Just say, you know, due to, or you know, I mean, what, you know, just to a family situation, or I was, yeah, but just definitely say it, because they will know, they'll see it and they'll be like, oh, I wonder what they were doing for those 8 months or whatever, wherever the gap is, and just say, yeah.
Last question, should be a quick one. Could you list a colleague as a reference, or is that too similar
Yes.
to a friend? Okay, you can list a colleague.
A colleague, yes. If
Okay.
if that person you've worked closely with knows your work, maybe you've worked on projects together, maybe you've, you know, absolutely. Yes.
Thank you so much for that.
If that person is a friend too, yes. But I mean, but you know, you really want to stress the colleague than the friend. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Renee, for sharing not only your time with us, but your knowledge. It's definitely wonderful, and I'm so thankful that we've been able to share that with everybody today.
Oh, good, good.
So thank you again. For any other questions, I will get those over to Renee, as well as the emails of who's asked them, just so that we can make sure everything is addressed. And thank you all for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Great.